Good morning. How is everybody doing this morning? Please send me your likes and comments so I know this is working. There's always still that, is this working? Are people hearing me? Um, and Facebook changes stuff around, so I'm always a little worried. Anyways, thank you for joining me on my Facebook Live this morning. Our subject this morning is, I don't want to say exciting, but definitely interesting and very relevant to a lot of dog owners out there. As always, please feel free to ask questions. This time I'm going to answer them. I'm going to take breaks during the talk and answer them throughout the live. So please, so keep the questions coming because I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth this time. So I want to make sure I cover all the questions and don't leave them all to the end. If you are listening to the recording of this live, um, feel free to ask questions because I do regularly come back and answer the questions on the live. So like I said, for those of you on the call, say hello and let me know where you're from, what kind of dog you have, and thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so while we give people a couple of minutes to join us, I wanted to talk about something I saw this week. So I did a puppy party this week. I do puppy packages. I do um, private clients that have puppies and I work with them one-on-one, but for them, I do puppy classes. Um, I like this setup for me because I get to pick and choose what puppies play together to create the best environment for those puppies. When I let puppies play together, I want to build confidence and I want to teach puppies how to interact together. I don't want anybody to be bullied and I don't want anybody to be shy. So if you have that dog that's constantly hiding, that's not building the dog I want. Hey, Kim, how are you? So glad you could join us. Hi, Carol. Anyways, the concept of letting your dog get beat up, I don't know where that came from, but I've heard it so often. I heard it myself from my very first dog. Some dog was beating on my poor old Akita, who was young at the time. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's fine. He's got to deal with that. No, 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 he doesn't. That's not helping your dog at all. So if my dog's getting beaten on, if I'm letting him play with other dogs and he's getting beaten on, I definitely take him out of that situation. Hi, Christy. I definitely take him out of the situation. Please don't let any dog abuse your dog. But um, this is how to tell if dogs are playing too rough. Because sometimes you watch dogs play, especially some breeds are very loud. For example, if you have my puppy Wicca has a friend who's a Jack Russell. When you listen to them play, they sound like they're killing each other, but they're having a great time. So if you think there's a dog who's getting abused, you take the dog who's the aggressor or you think is the aggressor and you move him off. You take him by the collar and just calmly move him away. If the dog is on the bottom, chases him down and keeps playing, then it's fine, regardless of how it looks. Anybody who has multiple children who are approximately the same age will tell you they know when their kids are fighting and playing, but the average person may not. It's loud, it's obnoxious, it is what it is. So this way you have a really easy way to tell, is everybody having a good time when they're playing? And that's what you want. When puppies play, you want everybody to be having a good time because that will encourage them how to play again. Even during the puppy play, we saw one of the dogs, especially as they started to get tired, one of the dogs stepped on the other dog and the dog screamed. The dog who did the stepping instantly backed away and everybody settled down for a moment. That's exactly what you want. You want the dog to not be so high, so excited that they ignore noises and responses from the other dog. She right away was like, oh, you didn't like it. Did she understand that other dog didn't like it? No, but it took her down a moment and she stopped, which was exactly what the other dog needed. The other dog got up and then they continued playing. So that's what I'm teaching puppies when they play together. Okay, back to the topic for today. This morning, I'm going to talk about leash reactivity. More and more, and I'm sure many other dog trainers are getting calls about reactive dogs. As an issue, leash reactivity is dangerous for both the human and the dog. The pulling and lunging alone are harder on your body and on your dog's body. That jerk, especially on an ill-fitting harness or on their neck, does a lot of damage. Um, and then there's the emotional toll, right? Especially if you're a social person, it's nice to go out, especially when it's nice. It's summer out, you want to go out and chat with people. And if your dog's lunging, barking, or being obnoxious, you can't chat with people. In fact, most people with reactive dogs eventually start to walk, at night or only when it's quiet or 5 o'clock in the morning, they're avoiding people. And then there's the embarrassment of it, right? When your dog sets off and scares a little kid. Like I've seen one of my dogs has done it. Kids run by and my dog lunges and goes bark, 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 bark. And that made the kid cry. I was mortified. So this is all the stuff you see. I truly believe we get dogs to make our lives better. So when owning a dog is not making your life better, I think it's worth your time and effort to help this dog. And let's face it, a reactive dog is not comfortable. Um, the fact that they're reacting is showing you there's a problem, and to make their life better, you need to work on it. People have no idea how to fix it, and the solution ends up being locking the dog away because they can no longer control them. And honestly, leash reactivity is preventable and fixable. So that makes me sad. Since this is such a huge topic, I'm going to break it down over a few weeks. This week will be more about defining what I mean by leash reactivity and what it looks like, and how to stop it from happening in the first place without having to resort to bullying, constantly correcting, and popping your dog on the leash. My goal when I work with any reactive dog is that you eventually can stop babysitting, can stop managing, and the dog understands what's expected. That is always the goal. So I even though at first I have to manage everything, I quickly move away from that. The more you move away from that, the better it gets. I don't want to spend my life rewarding the dog every time he sees another dog. I want my dog to go, yeah, it's a dog, and keep walking. Basically the same reaction they do when they see a car. Parked car on the side of the road, they go, yeah, it's a car, and they keep walking. I don't want them to avoid the dog, but I don't want them to stare at the dog and build up. We used to call this aggression, and now the politically correct term is reactivity. But it all comes down to the same thing: a dog that is a challenge to take out in public because of the lunging, the barking, the growling, the pulling. Next week, I will delve deeper into other animal reactivity. So the dog who reacts to other dogs, to cats, to squirrels. This is probably more common than the fear-based reactivity. As we require our dogs to live in urban settings and on leash, dogs have lost the ability to deal with their excitement and their anticipation. We want our dogs to be happy. So as young puppies, we're constantly letting them pull towards things. You're walking down the street, your neighbor comes out of their driveway, you're like, hi Lise, how are you? You've got to send me a picture of the big guy. I need to see him. He's going to be beautiful. Okay, sorry, back to what I was talking about. See that I have an ADHD problem of staying connected to what I'm doing. Okay, so as we require dogs to live in urban settings on leash, we let them go see whatever they want. And then they get a little older and we start holding them back. No, you can't go see the neighbor. And then the neighbor's 10 feet away and we're like, oh, okay, you can go see the neighbor. So we're actually building that pulling because we hold them back and then we release them when they're pulling and lunging and barking. And that's how you start to build reactivity. We have to change our mindset right from the beginning. Letting your dog do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, does not build the friendly, happy-go-lucky dog we want. Self-control and manners teaches them how to build that happy-go-lucky dog. So does this sound like anyone you know? Do you have a dog who has a problem with self-control, who feels everybody he sees is his best buddy and wants to say hello? Did you fall into that puppy trap of going to visit, of letting him go visit everybody? I've definitely, I'm going to talk about it a little later. Definitely Wicca is that dog. She is uber friendly and wants to visit with everybody. The following week, we're going to talk about human reactivity. That's the fear side of leash reactivity. We want our dogs to be socially okay. And I think that's why we let them go say hello, because we think if you get to say hello when you're a puppy, you'll be fine saying hello when you're an adult. What I've discovered is dogs that are going to be fearful as adults aren't the ones who are driving and barking and lunging to get at the people, because they don't love the people. They're already a little worried. It doesn't look like fear yet, but it definitely looks like caution. Um, I was out with my friend with the Jack Russell, and a group of people surrounded us, right? We were holding puppies. A group of people came over, and Lindsay Ann, what kind of dog do you have? That's my dog that you're saying it's your dog who's lunging. Um, so her Jack Russell went up to the people and he went in calmly. He went in, but he was calm about it and well behaved. He wasn't losing his mind. Where Wiki was like, ah, it's people, let me see them, and was trying to jump and wants to lick their face and wants to be picked up. So totally different dog. As an adult, Wicca's still going to love people, and probably that Jack Russell is going to be okay. I don't see any signs of fear, but he's never going to be that lab type personality. And I call it labs type personality because most labs are that overly friendly. I love everybody. I used to describe it as the drunk at the bar, you know, the guy who's like, hey, how are you? How's it going? The overly touchy kind of hammered man. So we want our dogs to be okay with kids running up to them and adults petting them, to deal with whatever situations we present them and cope. But unfortunately, that isn't always easy for some dogs. In fact, for most dogs, even with training, they may never be okay with strangers touching them. Some dogs just can't handle that. And part of learning to deal with a reactive dog is accepting what your dog can and cannot do. That doesn't mean you have to stop working on it. You're always building that confidence, and it's amazing what age will help you with. But sometimes you have to accept at this point in time, my dog cannot have people touch him. And once you accept that, life is better instead of constantly putting him. I hear that all the time. Oh, my dog is scared of people, so I let him go towards people and then he barks. What should I do? We'll stop letting him go towards people for right now. You have to keep your dog safe when you're working with any dog, because any dog, no matter how much I'm saying there's frustration and fear, there's always some amount of combination. An excited, happy-go-lucky dog can still be fearful. And sometimes a fearful dog can still have situations when they get overly excited. So there's always some melding, but always, always, always keep your dog safe. That means don't put them in situations where they're scared and then go, well, you need to deal with it. Lindsay Ann, I'm just reading your comment. What is a blue lacy? I know what a Rottie is, but I don't know what a blue lacy is. So interesting enough, dogs who live on the street. So are you saying your dog is fearful or your dog is overly friendly? Usually dogs who live on the street are not overly friendly, because overly friendly dogs who live on the street either get taken into a home or end up being put in situations that aren't good. Okay, so let me know. I'll keep coming back to the comments. Okay, by the end of these 3 lives, you're going to have a much better idea of what leash reactivity is, what to do and what not to do to prevent leash reactivity, how to teach your dog to deal with the real world and not lose their noodle. And yeah, so make sure to sign up to our newsletter on our website, www.dogtraining.ca. And make sure to like our lives. The next one's already posted and I can only post 1 week ahead. So I'll post the next one soon. But that way you'll get a reminder so you don't forget to join us. Okay, so let's start by defining what causes leash reactivity. Like I mentioned above, leash reactivity happens for a couple of reasons. Very broadly, those are frustration or fear. Frustration happens when dogs learn that everything on leash is available. What you are seeing looks like aggression, but is really more a temper tantrum due to lack of self-control. Unfortunately, we regularly reward those temper tantrums and they get worse and worse and worse. These are the dogs that are horrible on leash, but are fine at the off-leash park or fine playing with other dogs. These are the dogs that people will, they're on leash, they're lunging, they're barking, and people are like, oh, let him say hello to your dog and he'll be fine. But the problem is, if your dog is lunging and barking and you let him say hello, then you're reinforcing the lunging and barking. That's what we don't understand. This is what we always forget. I want my dog to understand, even if he's a super friendly dog who likes to say hello on leash, which I'm not a huge fan of, if you're not calm, you're never going to get to say hello to that person or that dog, because that's how he slowly understands. Calm behavior gets me what I want. Now, a very interesting thing, if you have a breed who's not barky, he can display the exact same behavior, but because his mouth is probably shut and he's not barking, he doesn't look aggressive. So my very first dog was an Akita. I knew nothing, and he was a big boy who was uber friendly. He had zero leash manners. Eventually we figured it out, but at the beginning he had zero leash manners, and he would pull like a truck towards people and towards dog. And he would have been leash reactive if he was a barky type dog, like a German Shepherd. But because he was an Akita, he just kept his mouth shut and drove towards the people. So he looked badly behaved, but he never looked reactive. If you take away the barking and lunging from the barking and open mouth where you see teeth from these dogs, funny enough, it doesn't look aggressive. But we, of course, as soon as we see barking and teeth, our brains are designed to go, that's dangerous, that's aggressive. The other side of the coin is fear. Dogs who are already a little uncomfortable in new situations, dogs who are already a little worried. My border collie Speck, when we're out in public, he's fine and I can put him in all sorts of situations now, but he's definitely a little suppressed. He's definitely a little more worried going for a walk where things happen and things come out of the woodwork and stuff like that than he is at home. And that showed up a lot more when he was younger and we were still building that confidence. And for some of these dogs, the space that they need empty to be comfortable is quite large. So that's why they'll react to someone 50 feet away from them, or a dog 100 feet away. And unfortunately, they bark and lunge, and we tend to pull them out of the situation. So therefore, we are rewarding the barking and lunging because that's what they want. They want that person, that dog, that thing to go away. So we're not teaching them skills how to make that thing go away or how to overcome it. We're just getting them out of the situation. What I see a lot with this type of reactivity is owners trying to make their dogs more comfortable by forcing them in the situations where they're stressed. Like, you're going to go say hello to this person and this person's going to give you a cookie. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you hate snakes. I'm going to sit you down in a chair and tell you you can't move. Like the leash prevents the dog from escaping. Someone is going to walk into the room with a big ass snake, like big. They're going to walk towards you and put the snake on your lap. Are you terrified yet? Is this making you uncomfortable? Just picturing it makes me very uncomfortable. My husband would be gone. He'd be like, I don't even want to talk about this. Now, as I lay the snake on your lap, I'm going to give you $100. So first, as soon as you saw the snake, you started to stress. So the association of the sight of the snake becomes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you get more uncomfortable as the snake comes closer. No amount of money that you get at the end of that is going to erase that initial feeling, that initial behavior that's associated with the sight of a snake. How much the $100 will mean to you and how much it'll help depends how broke you are. You know, when I was 16, $100 was a huge amount of money. When I'm older than that now, $100 is still a good chunk of money, but nowhere near as valuable as it was when I was 16 and had no money. So food is the same thing. For some dogs, food is a huge reinforcer, and they will do anything to get it. For some dogs, food is a minor reinforcer. Even a high value food is still not high enough. So you always have to remember that this isn't going to probably help you get over the fear of snakes. In fact, this is probably going to make your fear of snakes stronger. So now let's go with a dog example. Your dog is uncomfortable with strangers. For some reason, the general consensus is people think going to places like pet stores, you go into pet stores and all the staff have cookies and they want to feed everybody's dogs. I know they're trying to create dogs who like people, but if you already have a super friendly dog, those super friendly dogs are learning every time I see a person, I get a cookie, so I should run towards them. It's so wonderful. And that's not helping your good manners. The nervous dogs are going, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go into them. And then the person leans forward and moves the cookie towards the dog's face, which is now the dog may take the food or may not, but there's a whole lot of fear. Think back to the snakes that you've just associated. So I never let people feed my dogs. I find no benefit to it. If I have a nervous dog, I ask the person to stand and chat with me. And especially puppies, but even adult dogs will eventually take a step towards the person because that curiosity is what you want to build. And then I'm going to lean forward and reward them closer to the person. And then for every step they take, I'm going to reward, building their confidence. Every time they move towards the person, good things happen. If they need to leave, that's fine. I don't let, at the first, I don't want the person to move because as soon as the person moves, they're like, oh yeah, no, screw it, I'm gone. So you just want to build approaching the person. Sometimes the cookie thing works, kind of. I had a very social client with a very shy Aussie who, as she got older, the dog became reactive with strangers, so she would bark at them. My client was very social and really wanted to work hard on fixing this because it affected life with her dog. Her previous dog had gone to friends' houses, to training classes, for walks in the park, and was the perfect dog and great to hang out with and take everywhere. And of course, she wanted that again with her new Aussie. And her new Aussie didn't read that book and wasn't playing. Especially she lived in a small town, going for a walk. She wanted her Aussie to be, didn't need to touch the people, but definitely didn't want her barking at people as they approached, which was exactly what was happening. So this became more and more stressful, and she was sure she wanted to fix this. So she started giving, as people, so what would happen is people would approach, the Aussie would bark, and she would hand them a cookie, and then they'd feed the Aussie. Eventually, the Aussie did get more comfortable with people in her space and would take cookies from them. And you could tell she was no longer fearful. She was like, oh, you have cookies. It's wonderful. But because this usually started with a bark, she kept the bark. So she would see the person, she would bark. Then the owner would give the stranger a cookie, and then the stranger would give the puppy the cookie. But this became a chain. So the Aussie would go, oh, I see a person, I bark at them, and that gets me a cookie. So not quite what you want to teach. So this is why it's really important that when you're working with reactivity or aggression, you work with a trainer. You need someone who's paying attention to what is being reinforced. It is so easy to reinforce the wrong thing. And when you're teaching basic manners, sits, downs, you screw up a bit, it's not the end of the world. So your dog doesn't down in the right place or doesn't down as fast as you'd like. But when you're dealing with aggression, you could be rewarding the dog growling or the dog barking or the dog. You just want to be really careful. So does anybody have a people reactive dog that's hesitant and barks? I just had a client send me a video of their dog doing that the other day, and we're working with this dog and starting to get her to overcome this fear. But yeah, as soon as the person walked in and was like, hi, the dog was like, oh no, I'm going to bark at you. Okay, any questions so far? I've given you a lot of information, and I want to know if anybody has anything they need answered. No? Okay, we will keep going. Some dogs, usually dogs that have exhibited some fear or shyness, get really reactive at about 7 to 9 months, just as adolescence starts to kick in. We have a game, we call it the ODR game, observe, don't react. It is designed to stop this behavior from ever happening. So it prevents leash reactivity. Um, Adolescence brings in a lot of hormones and the defense drive kicks in hyper mode. Within a few months to a year, depending on the dog, the hypervigilance starts to decrease. But like always, what has become a habit will stick forever. So if your dog gets into the habit of, I see a dog, I bark, I see a dog, I bark, I see a dog, I bark, and has been doing this for 6 months, even though the hormones have decreased, the habit will stay, if that makes sense. So the goal is to never allow these behaviors to become habits. This is one of the many pieces of the puzzle that I've had a number of reactive dogs myself. And I constantly say, I've had these reactive dogs, so now I can teach you guys how to work with your reactive dogs. So I've learned a lot from working with my own reactive dogs. And honestly, I've been very pleased to the point they all got. I've also worked with piles of clients with reactive dogs, and every single client has taught me one more piece to help me build our reactive dog program. The first step in our reactive dog program is skills. Your dog has to understand that working with you is good. Especially people with adult dogs, you get your puppy, you do a bunch of training, but then with adult dogs, they just live. You know, you take them for a walk, you take them for a run. Unless you're doing a dog sport, we don't really do a pile of training. And in fact, most people don't even know what to train. So the first step in our reactive dog program is teaching your dog how to do stupid pet tricks. Sit, down, spins, paw, anything that you and your dog can have fun working on a regular basis. The next step is setting them up for success, creating the right environment to achieve success. People will say to me, my dog barks as soon as he sees another dog. Well, does he do it at 50 feet, at 100 feet, at 200 feet? It's finding the right place that your dog can be successful. And then we classically condition the stressor. So think Pavlov's dog. When Pavlov's dog would hear the bell, he'd get a cookie. Pretty soon, the sound of the bell caused Pavlov's dog to drool. Right now, if you have a dog, reactive dog, your dog sees a dog and goes into that heightened emotional state where he barks in lunch. If you are setting him up to look at the dog, have a cookie, look at the dog, have a cookie, the simple act of chewing causes the dog to come out of that heightened emotional state. You can't stay, when you see a dog focus, everything goes forward and everything goes still. The mouth closes, the ears go forward, everything leans in. You can't chew like that. So as soon as you can get them to chew, they have to come down a notch. And that's how you start changing that emotional state that's associated with the sight of the dog. You're breaking that commitment point. There is always a second in time between sighting and reacting. That's where you're affecting. That's where the dog's making that choice, and that's what you're affecting. Using rewards correctly, you will always see results. I have never worked with a dog that I didn't see results right away. Usually within 5 to 10 treats, they're like, oh, and you see them. They'll be looking at the distraction, and at first they're totally looking and you're rewarding. And then eventually they start to relax back. And then they start to go, as you go to reward, they start to turn and look at you waiting for the reward. And then eventually they start, as you slow down the rewards, they start to turn back and be like, hey, where are my cookies? So that's the beginning. It's changing that mindset of you see a dog, you react. The dog now has clarity on what to do, and that's what they need. The problem with reactive dogs is the dog sets off, you yell at them, you pull them back. A lot of times we just hold them and they're lunging and barking. We don't have the tools to deal with it. The dog doesn't have the tools. And then everybody just panics and gets frozen. A lot of our program is teaching you how to work through that. If you're ready to see how your life with your reactive dog can change, head on over to our website, www.dogtraining.ca, and fill out a contact form, and we can start the application process. There's no pressure. We only take on clients who we know we can get results with. So we won't steer you the wrong way. If I don't think I can help you, I'm not going to tell you I can. We're going to wrap up by talking about preventing leash reactivity. And I've kind of talked about it a little as we've gone through. Keep in mind, leash reactivity is preventable and fixable. I have never seen a dog that didn't improve. I'll be honest. Sometimes they don't become the dog the owners originally were hoping for. My dog Spec, still very, very careful who I would let him off leash with. But he competes in agility, he can travel, he can be in crowds, he can do all that. So sometimes you have to modify your requirements a little bit, but I can always guarantee there will be huge improvements doing our program. So back to preventing it. And I've talked about this a little, and we're going to talk about it again. We train our dogs to be leash reactive right from the day we get them. I have to admit, even as a dog trainer, I have fallen into this trap. With Wicca, like I said, she's uber friendly and wants to say hello to everybody. And I don't know, there's something in our brains that loves seeing our puppy love people and dogs. It's obviously rewarding to us because it's one of the hardest lessons for me to teach my puppy owners. And I saw myself falling down the trap just like they do. So it got to the point where she saw people and she pulled. And I do this for a living. I see this all the time. Right away, I was like, yeah, I don't like that. And we stopped it right away. So it never became a habit. But I totally understand how people go down this road. Self-control is a huge part of working through leash reactivity. Teaching your dog to be calm before he gets to go say hello, go for a run, go for a swim, go visit people, go visit dogs, go play off leash takes 2 seconds and very quickly becomes the habit. And from there, you can build on coming when called, walking on a loose leash. So you're always working on when you give the dog something they really want, saying hello to people, playing with dogs, how is the dog behaving? Is this the dog you want to see all the time? So let's say you get to your friend's house and they have a dog and your dog's barking in the car and you open the door and your dog flies out of the door and runs to your friend's house. And it's easy. But what are you teaching your dog? When I see something I want and I'm in the car, bark, scratch at the windows. So now you're driving down the street and you stop at a light and your dog sees a dog standing on the street corner. Is he not going to behave the exact same way? And you're going to go, stop it, stop it, stop it. And the dog's going to get worse and worse and worse. And then you have a dog who's embarrassing. You can't take them to the gas station because he barks at everything and everybody. So think about that. Think about look at your dogs and see how you're rewarding behaviors that you're going to hate if they keep going. So the solution to teach this calm behavior is the ODR game. Observe, don't react. This is what we want with our dogs on leash. What do we want? We want them to just walk down the street. But yet, when you see people walking their puppies, they're letting them sniff, letting them drag them into the ditch. I live in the country. If you're in the city, they're letting them go say hello to the neighbors. They're letting them pull to a certain tree to go for a pee. We have to define what we want. I want my dog to walk down the street, not at a good clip, not peeing, not they need to go to the bathroom, I'll give them the cue, go toilet, and we pull over and they go to the bathroom and then we go back to walking. Think about that. Is that how your dog's walking? This is where you're going to end up with leash reactivity, potentially, if you've got that dog. With the ODR game, I start all my leash work standing still. And I'll post a video in the comments of Wicca doing the ODR game at the mall with people walking by. So she's learning to sit quietly while people walk by her. Remember, she is uber friendly. This is really hard. So we do it for like 5-10 minutes, but she's learning when I see people, I'm calm. I'm not barking, lunging, being obnoxious. Yeah, so that's the beginning of all my leash reactivity work. If you do this with your puppies, I promise you they will understand leash manners and therefore not be leash reactive. If you've got, and prevention by far is the easiest solution. I work with reactive dogs of all ages, and I have helped reactive dogs of all ages, but first learned, best learned. It is so much easier to prevent than to fix after the fact. Proper socializing is also the key with puppies. Let me talk about a minute what socializing is. Socializing is not putting your dog in overwhelming situations. I never want to overwhelm the dog. I want to constantly keep exposing them to new situations that they can handle. Whenever I get to a new place with a puppy, I just stand there and I wait. And you'll see a lot of puppies will be like, oh, and they look around and they don't move very much. And then all of a sudden they start to sniff, or they look at you, or they start moving around. That's when I know they're there. As soon as you've given them a minute to settle in, you can see them. Now, some puppies are going to be like, no, I'm not settling in. No problem. This environment is too much for them. It doesn't matter what the environment is. The puppy is telling you that environment is too much for them. So I will remove them from that environment and try again another day in a different situation. So you're constantly looking at what can your dog handle and then building from that. I play the ODR game every single time my dog's on leash. Observe, don't react. Right from the get-go, teaching them if you want something, you have to calm down and be calm. That's it. Don't pull, don't drag. Constantly changing new environments. Socializing is different. So different places, different people, different noises, different smells, difference. You walk down the street and there's a car parked. And you walk down the street and there's not. I remember the first time my Akitas saw garbage bags. We never used to have garbage pickup, and then we did. They were like, ooh, what's that? I walk down the street every day and it doesn't have garbage bags. And all of a sudden there's garbage bags. And they growled at them. They barked at them. They were adult dogs. They were well socialized, but they'd never seen garbage bags on our street. It took them 2 weeks to figure it out, but differences, especially with guarding breeds, they are bred to notice differences. You need to expose them to a billion differences to make them comfortable. I want to talk a little bit about what socializing isn't. Most of my clients call, and when you talk about socializing, they're like, oh yeah, my dog has played with 5 dogs. And I'm not saying playing with dogs is a bad thing. I'm saying socializing is not just playing with dogs. In fact, playing with dogs is pretty far down on my list of important things I need to socialize to. You need to make, and then even playing with dogs, what do I want? I want my dog to see a dog and be calm. I don't want my dog to see a dog and lose its mind. So I'm playing ODR. I'm playing observe, don't react before I let them go play with a dog. It's not, oh, you see a dog, you get to go play. Make sure dogs are part of your socializing, not just it. In our puppy program, both local and remote, we start right away guiding our clients into socializing with the rules I just talked about earlier, which is don't overwhelm them, play the ODR game, constantly changing environments. That's how you start working on building that confidence. So if you've got the uber happy, comfortable dog, you're building self-control. If you've got the shy dog, you're building confidence. Look, we went somewhere new. Great things happen. The next time he's going to be that much more comfortable. The next time he's going to be that much more comfortable. Confidence is and recovery is the key. So even if they startle, giving them an opportunity to go, oh, okay, it's okay. A truck goes by and they're like, and then you just stand there and give them a minute. And eventually they're like, okay, I've survived. That recovery is also important. So let's say you have an adolescence that has reactivity or starting to have reactivity. You want to jump on that quick, because if you address it early enough, it is not a habit. So you want to make sure that you start fixing this before they're doing it for months. I love when people call me and say, oh, my dog's 8 months old and starting to bark at things. I am pretty sure we can pretty well erase that behavior, because it's not going to be a habit. The longer you wait, the harder it is. It's very similar to what I do with a puppy. Again, a lot of ODR game. Observe, don't react. Start it with something simple like, there's a piece of food on the ground. Can you control yourself? And then you build up to the things that your dog is reacting to. Cats, squirrels, people, dogs. Anything your dog reacts to is a training situation. So this is the tip of the, I can talk reactive dogs all day long, because there's so many nuances once you start dealing with the individual dogs and what they can and cannot do. Next week, we will talk about working with the frustrated reactive dog. And the following week, we will talk more about working with the fearful reactive dog. Again, I'm going to say leash reactivity can be a potentially dangerous behavior. You could end up seriously injured, or worse, someone else can be seriously injured. Your kids, your neighbors, your grandchild. Your dog is doing the best he can. He's not a bad dog. He is just acting the way he feels he should. So make sure you get professional help with your dog before this becomes dangerous. This could be with me coaching online, could be with your local dog trainer. It could even mean sending your dog away. The bottom line is, if you're experiencing leash reactivity, seek professional help now. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about our reactive dog program, so you know what it refers to. I offer this both in person and to students online through video courses, live chat, phone calls, video chat, and video review. So just let me know if you are interested. And like I said, we have an application process. So our reactive dog program consists of the following. Build the skills you will need to be successful. Learn how to teach your dog solid skills, not just sit when you see a cookie. I want my dog responding. Create environments to practice, understanding what you and your dog need, what, when, where, setting up the perfect scenario to build success. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I've found lots of great tricks and ideas to get the exposure my dog needs under the control we need to be successful. Acceptance, learning to read and understand your dog and accepting what he can and cannot handle right now. This doesn't mean that you're admitting or you're accepting your dog will never get better. It means you don't put your dog in situations where you know he's going to fail and then get upset when he fails. It's a hard one. It's hard to acknowledge your dog has a problem. I get it. Like I've said, I've had a number of reactive dogs. They're hard. They're hard to work with. They're hard to live with, because emotionally, they're not the perfect puppy we were hoping for. But they are also the most rewarding dog when you work with them and have success. Building confidence for you and your dog. You both need to have tools and skills and systems in place so you can react to different situations. Unfortunately, life is not always exactly as planned. And when something goes wrong, you need to have tools in place and have practiced what to do when it goes wrong, so that you're like, oh, this is what I do, and we're done. bad things happen. But if you get your dog out of the situation immediately and everybody can calm down, then you can move on and make it a learning experience. Finally, we work on how to integrate into the real world. Like I said earlier, the final step is not, I don't want you having to manage your dog the rest of your life. I want your dog to go, yep, there's a dog, I walk by. Yep, there's a person, I walk by. Not you having to constantly use treats or tools or whatever to manage the dog. That is the goal of this program, is teaching them to no longer be reactive. So yeah, we only take on clients we know we can help, plain and simple. I assess the dog owner as much as the dog when it comes to applications and enrollment into our reactive dog program. I used to get a lot of kickback having an application process versus open enrollment. But after 20 years of getting results, working with reactive dogs, I know that without a dedicated, hardworking, and patient dog owner, the dog half of the team doesn't stand a chance. And honestly, those successes are amazing, and not and they are amazing for me, and that's the client I want to work with. I'm looking for owners who are tired of dealing with the reactive dogs and know there is a better way. Owners who are open-minded, ready to learn new things and become better dog trainers, because you will become a better dog trainer by the end of this. Owners who love their dog and want them to help them to be better. So if this describes you and you're ready to finally reach your goals with your dog, like take your dog camping, go for a walk in the park, go to a class, learn a dog sport, live life with your dog in harmony, then give me a shout. Like I said, our website is www.dogtraining.ca, or PM me on Facebook. Yeah, that's all for now. I will stick around for 10 minutes to answer questions. If you have any special topic requests, let me know. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week for the second installment of Leash Reactivity. Thank you very much.